Hey guys, happy 4th of July. Welcome in for 30 Books in 30 Weeks. Marcy Batiste here. Hope everybody's holiday is off to a fun and, more importantly, safe start. I welcome you in for today's episode of 30 Books in 30 Weeks. So hey Ed, we are on our journey, and this week's subject matter is sex sensitivity in society as it relates to this book right here called 50 Shades of Grey. Hey Melissa, I don't know how many of you have read the book or the series or seen the movies, but there's a lot of life lessons in Anastasia's story and Christian Grey's story, and things that I think get overlooked when we dial in too deeply on the sexual parts of it, and we ignore the heart parts of it. We take away ownership of certain things, and get distracted by the sex and the juicy love scenes and so forth. So as you guys come in, as you can see, this week's going to be some interesting conversations. You haven't read it, Melissa, you need to read it. It's a really, really good book. It's a series, it's a trilogy, and all three books are really great. Hey Gregory, what's going on? So as you guys come in, feel free to share the video out. We are going to have some grown-up conversations today. We're going to have grown-up conversations all week, actually. So welcome in. For those of you who are coming in for the first time, don't know me, don't know what this is all about, we're doing 30 books. Hey Pam, 30 books in 30 weeks. And that is a personal development journey that we started last year, like last October, you guys. I can't believe it's been that long. But when 2018 rolled over, I wanted to up-level things a bit. I felt like there was more to give and more to share, and so that's what I really, really wanted to do. I am working on a holiday, Pamela. I am absolutely. So I wanted to share more, and so 30 Books in 30 Weeks was an opportunity to take a deeper dive into some personal development. Hey Jay, some personal development books. So I rated my bookshelf for the last, we're on 27 weeks. So 27 different books that have had an impact on my healing, my growth, my transformation, my journey over the years. And I just wanted to share with you all things that I have the opportunity to share with my coaching clients and give you some of the same takeaways, teachables, nuggets, and ahas that they get to experience through working with me as coaching clients. My name is Marcy Batiste. Welcome to the Ultimate Power Team. I'm so glad you're here. I'm America's #1 reality-based success and recovery trainer, focusing on truly getting you in touch with what is real and what is perception. Oftentimes we live in a space of perception and beliefs versus truth. And I firmly believe that you have to stay in touch and in tune and in connection with what is really real and not be distracted by foolery or other people's beliefs, what's right for them versus what's right for you. So today we're going to talking this week, 50 Shades of Grey. The book is by E.L. James. It's part of a trilogy. There's also a movie series that came out based on the books, and the books were hot and steamy and sexy, and when the movies came out, it suddenly became abuse. How the hell's that happen? Well, it happens because when you read the story, you read through your personal lens of experience, and so you read from your comfort zone, you read from what you know, you read from what you believe, you read from what you can create and conceptualize in your mind. But when they watched the movie, it destroyed all of that. And so if you'd not ever had truly extreme, some perceived to be extreme experiences sexually, then it blew people away. And suddenly Christian went from the hottest lover, the best guy in the world, everybody wants a Christian Grey, to an abuser who disrespects women. So I want to talk today about that part of it. In particular, one of the things that they do in the book as part of a dominant submissive relationship was he had Anastasia sign a contract, an agreement that laid out fully and completely the terms of their relationship. It had in writing absolutely everything, how much time they would spend together, what days they'd see each other, what his expectations were, what kind of birth control, what kind of food she'd eat, etc., and so on, right down to where she sleeps, the kind of panties she wore. But then he provided everything for her. So he laid out what he wanted, and then he created an environment for her to basically just step into, right? Not everybody can do that. I understand that. The point is, there was a contractual agreement. I don't want that to get lost, because everyone said that it was abusive, but it was a contractual agreement between consenting adults. And what I consent to as an adult woman behind my closed doors ain't nobody else's business except me and the person who's behind those doors with me. And I think oftentimes people get caught up in the perception of what they think, how people will think about them as sexual beings, how people will perceive them if they have certain desires, and then be bold enough, heaven forbid, to express them. Heaven forbid you go for what you want. Heaven forbid you seek out and you find things that you enjoy and that give you pleasure, when it doesn't look like what society thinks it should look like. And that is in large part of the shock value of Christian Grey and Anastasia's relationship. And it's oftentimes why it can get overlooked. And I think of it in terms of, when we take even the sexuality piece out of it and we look at people's relationship choices. You could be in a relationship with someone that your family hates, that your friends say ain't good for you. He's a dirty dog, she's a hoe, this, that, and the other thing. They ain't worth nothing. All the negative, derogatory things that people can say about the person that you choose to invest your time with. Right, wrong, or indifferent. If you are a consenting adult, you have every right to consent to whatever choices you want to. But understand that that consent comes with a level of responsibility and ownership. So then when you consent to things that are not good, things that are not wise, you make poor choices, you need to own those poor choices too. And realize, I made a decision that probably wasn't good for me. And it's only about what's good for you. It doesn't have to fit the mold of what somebody else finds appropriate. And I think that, we can look at Anastasia and say, well, she was naive. She didn't really understand. She was still a virgin when he met her. She didn't know. She was still a consenting adult. The contract laid everything out. There was no way that she could possibly say, I don't know. And the thing of it was Anastasia wasn't upset in the relationship. She was trying to navigate in that space, like, hey, what does this mean? What does this look like to me? How does this fit into my world? What is this representative of? But she understood that I've entered into an agreement. She also knew that at any time she could exit stage left and get out of the agreement. That she was in no way held hostage to that choice. So when she chose to sign the contract, she also had a choice to exit the relationship. She was not forced to stay in it. And I think sometimes we get into situations and we feel like, oh, well, I agreed to this at one point. Now I'm stuck. You're not stuck, boo-boo. You always have a choice. You might have made a decision that you thought was the best decision for you, or you thought it was something that you could sign up for long term, and you get in and you're like, oh shit, this don't work for me. You have a right as a consenting adult, just like you got into it, for a right to get out of it. Yeah, it can be difficult sometimes. Yeah, it can be scary. Any kind of change can be scary. But as a consenting adult, you made a choice. You own your choice. You realize, hey, LaDanya, you realize that we're not always going to make the exact best choice every single freaking time. If I could tell you how many times I got it wrong, I got it wrong so many more times than I've gotten it right. but I own every single one of them. And I don't ever blame the partners, even the one that ended in physical abuse. I don't blame him for my circumstance. He made a choice to put hands on me, but I had made choices along the way that got me into that relationship, allowed me to stay beyond the red flags that I saw. And then when that happened, I exited because that was too much. And I had to say, though, that at some point along the way, for that 1.5 to 2 years that we were together, he was exactly what I wanted. It was a great relationship for the most part. Were there red flags? Absolutely. Did I minimize them? Absolutely. Did I mask them? Absolutely. Did I try and deny it? Absolutely. But guess what? That ain't his fault. He showed me who he was. I chose to ignore, minimize, mask, and look past. That's all on me. I am a consenting adult. I consented to that relationship. And when it became too much for me, when he put hands on me, held me hostage in my house, and beat the shit out of me, I said no more. This was not the right decision. This was not a good choice. I need to choose different. I need to do different. But beyond that, I also recognize that I had a history of making bad relationship choices. And so if I was going to break the pattern, it couldn't just end with just that one relationship. I had to break my habits. I had to change how I thought, how I operated, how I taught people to be in relation with me. I had to change everything about me. But that was on me. That wasn't ever on somebody else. Because you see, I'm a consenting adult. So just as I got into those relationships with consent, I knew that I had to change how I operated. I had to own my shit. I had to own my choices. I had to do things differently. I had to go to some scary places. I had to admit some really ugly truths about myself in order to change. In order to change. Staying the same was more scary than changing was at that point for me. Because I knew that if I got into another abusive relationship like that, I might not get out of it. Because I almost didn't get out of that one. I knew that. But I also knew that he was my choice. For nearly 2 years, he was my choice. And so I had to choose different. And then I had to change things about me and my habits and my thoughts and how I behave and how I engage and how I teach people to be in relation with me and how I set boundaries and how I defend boundaries and how important boundaries are, because I had no clue up until that point. I had to change all of that so that the next time I consent, I'm consenting to something that's a little bit better for me. But it doesn't matter what anybody else sees or thinks. It only matters what I think, because it's my life, my choice, my relationship. And the same thing happens when we talk about our sexual choices and our sexual desires. Society doesn't have to co-sign your pleasure. You don't have to be afraid to say to yourself in public or in private, this is what I like, this is what I'm into, this is me. As long as you're engaging with another consenting adult, it's your business. Do you, boo? So that's the message. That's the life lesson from 50 Shades of Grey for this week. I hope, or for today, I hope you guys, again, have a happy 4th. Thanks for joining the Ultimate Power Team and living life on Mars. I appreciate you more than you'll ever possibly know. Go out there and do you, boo. I'll talk to y'all later.